Foreign exchange markets then also reeling from the Goldman Sachs story in the sense of risk aversion being put back into these markets. We've got the euro a little weaker at 134.57, the Australian dollar obviously a bit of a risk trade in some people's view, down by around 0.5%, and the euro weaker against the yen also. We are seeing some yen buying then into the dollar just by 0.2%, though that one is the dollar is lower against the yen. Euro dollar then, as I say, down 0.3%, a bit of risk aversion in here. We also, on a fundamental level, continue to focus on the situation in Greece. That meeting between the Greek government and the IMF, though, has been postponed as a result of this large ash cloud that's hanging over Europe. We'll continue to watch that one. And this, a bit of context on dollar yen then, just dipping under the 92 level. Let's get an update now on the foreign exchange markets. Mario Singh, co-founder and CEO of FX1 Academy, joins us now from Asia. Mario, thanks very much for joining us. What are you seeing as the guiding force behind the markets today then? The Goldman story seems to be very much front and center.
Hi, and absolutely. I also feel that the Goldman Sachs story is really taking the whole markets by storm. We're seeing a lot of risk aversion flows back into the US dollar, back into the Japanese yen. We saw all the higher yielding assets of the loonie, the Aussie dollar, the Kiwi, all of them plummeting. In particularly the Canadian dollar, they dropped like a couple of hundred pips against the Japanese yen. So that, while I feel is the biggest story, we still see more news coming up from China. We see the volcanoes that's erupting in Europe. So with all these news that's on the back of investors' minds, I still feel some heavy floats into the US dollar and particularly into the Japanese yen for this week.
Yeah, just how strong do you think the Japanese yen can get on this, Mario, this cocktail of negatives, cocktail of risk aversion factors, and remind us why we see this trade?
Well, here's the key thing, because I'm always in Forex, we are looking at two sides of the equation. I still feel that the Japanese yen, while last week it strengthened against, well, really all of their major counterparts, I still feel that the Japanese yen will strengthen mostly on the euro dollar and the sterling. Not so much in particular with the US dollar, because that is still considered a safe haven flow. In particular towards the euro and the sterling, I feel that the yen will be strengthening against these two currencies for this particular week.
And also another big story is how China is continuing to step up its tightening, especially to cool down the mortgage market, the property sector. Yet they haven't quite tweaked the interest rate movement yet. When do you think that's going to happen? Is that the next step to look out for?
I feel logically that would be the next step. I still feel it happening probably in the second quarter of this year. These are all great moves that they're doing. They are increasing the mortgage rates. They are increasing all the, well, really for the second home purchases, I was reading the news that they are increasing that to 50% down payment. So all these are great news for them to cool the really superheated economy. We see how all property prices were skyrocketing in the month of March. So these are great news. I still feel that will be coming through easily in the next couple of months, that they will be moving towards appreciating of the yuan.
And any sign, any movement that you think would be wise for investors to get into some of the riskier trades? Which ones would you get into, or should they just hold off and see how this Goldman Sachs story plays out?
I feel for this particular week there will be a little bit of a holding off, because the sentiment in the market at least is a little bit of a risk aversion. While everyone has their eye on China, they've got to move it on their own terms. I see them probably raising the next couple of months, but at least for the next couple of weeks we still see the Goldman Sachs story heading out. No one really knows in particularly what the SEC is bringing.
How many more skeletons there could be, you know?
Absolutely. How many more skeletons in the closet? We're just seeing one big one coming out right now. So while that story will be playing out, we're going to see how the Forex market plays out this whole particular week. My call is for risk aversion flows to be heading towards the US dollar and the Japanese yen.
All right, more in favor towards the US dollar and the Japanese yen. Thank you so much. All right, Mario Singh there, co-founder and CEO of FX1 Academy.